Hello and welcome to another edition of the Father and Son Pastime podcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm Kevin.
That's my dad. We are continuing with our series of the all-time dream teams for each MLB franchise. Today's feature is the Kansas City Royals, a team that came to the majors in 1969. So they just celebrated their 50th anniversary of being a ball club.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at each of their positions, the best player in the history of the Kansas City Royals on that team. A couple qualifications: you have had to have been on the Kansas City Royals for at least 3 years of service time to be included on our roster, our team. And then as well as you have to specifically play that position. You can't just put, we have so many great like shortstops or something like that. You can't put one at left field because, we can't find a good left fielder or something like that. So you have to be known for playing that position.
That's right.
Yeah.
And nobody from the Kansas City Athletics.
Correct. Different team entirely.
Which moved to Oakland, and then Kansas City was an expansion team.
Yes.
That's why they came around in '69 and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, just a little history for the audience.
Thank you. So there's 2 World Series wins in here, so I'm sure we'll talk about some of those people that are on either of those championship teams. In addition to all the position players, we talk about pitchers, so best starter, best reliever / setup man, and best closer. And also we talk about our favorite logo and favorite manager as well to kind of round it out at the end.
Mm-hmm.
We ping pong, we go back and forth. Dad, who's your catcher?
John Wathan.
Tell me more about Johnny Boy.
John was the steady catcher for, a number of years. Probably like 7 years he was a catcher. Always like the all-star selection when the Kansas City was not doing really well, but it was a very steady one. And then Darryl Porter was in the mix as well. But when I looked at the stats and everything else, I think John had more longevity. So I like John just a little bit more.
I went with their current catcher, Salvador Perez. I think Perez is the best defensive catcher in the American League, and I think for the National League it's Yachty. But I really don't think either of those people stack up to Sally's even current stats, let alone what he'll grow with. 5-time Gold Glover already, 6-time All-Star.
Mm-hmm.
Consistent outside this past year. He's never really been injured until very recently. So I think Sally gets a start for me.
Good selection.
Thanks.
Real good selection.
For first, a lot of options. At first here, I think you could obviously put some of these people at DH. You obviously have Hosmer, Sweeney, and Billy Butler. All did a good amount of time at first base, and you could also put some of those at DH. But defensively, it's an easy choice. Eric Hosmer is the best first baseman out of those, just again, defensive reasons. 4-time Gold Glover before he went to San Diego.
And he hit number 3 in the lineup, and he was very, very good. And I know Kansas City hated to lose him to San Diego a couple years ago, but Eric was a cornerstone of the resurgence and really did a nice job. And again, one of the leaders of that team among some others. But yeah, I think there wasn't a good second choice at the first base. Maybe John Mayberry back in the day. But yeah, I had Eric as well.
Okay. Yeah, and again, we'll talk about DH. Obviously, I think Mike Sweeney would be your backup pick to first base if he's not your DH, but we'll get down to that. For second, who do you have for second?
Frank White.
Gold Glover, of course.
Yeah, I mean, he was the star.
Yeah.
And on the All-Star teams that had so many great shortstops over the years, Frank White was always the one that lined up in the All-Star game next to all these great, great shortstops.
Yeah.
And again, steady hitter and all that stuff, but again, defensively was outstanding. And again, I think, a 12-year career with Kansas City, and again, one of their stars.
Mm-hmm. This is where we're very kind of a stickler for the rule here. Obviously, some people could maybe move Frank to shortstop, so you could play Whit Merrifield, who's just a fantastic up-and-coming second baseman. I hope they keep him at second. I hope Kansas City doesn't try to push him to the outfield. But Frank's known for being a second baseman. He's got 8 Gold Gloves for second base, not for shortstop. So He's got to stay at second. For shortstop, though, I almost picked Alcides Escobar. I think he'd be my backup here. But Freddie Patek, who's just... Patek, sorry. He is one of the fastest people on this team. So this team has a lot of great average. There's some powers there as well, but I think Freddie needs to be sort of top of the lineup to steal, or the back end of the lineup to kind of get those steals as well.
He's only 5'4". Very, very short man.
He knew how to run.
He did, and again, he was it like the Mark Belanger of the day. Didn't hit for a lot of power, but got on base often, and again was a very steady influence. Him and Frank up the middle was just fantastic defensively. So that was their strength up the middle and everything else. But he was a big part of it and very popular in Kansas City.
Yeah. So our infield so far is the same. I'm assuming it'll stay the same, but who do you have for third?
George Brett,
Of course.
#1 Royal of all time, according to my research.
That's a simple choice, yeah.
But you're talking about somebody that could hit.
Yeah.
And
Brett's the greatest, right?
Yeah. And he stayed in Kansas City his whole career, which is very, very good. And then, I mean, he was a doubles machine and, hit, 25 home runs, but always hit 330.
Mm-hmm.
Always getting for the batting titles and everything else.
Had 390 one year. Earned, I believe, only 1 Gold Glove during his time at third base, but 13 All-Star appearances and 3 batting titles.
Yeah.
So defensively great, and offensively even better.
Yeah.
And these are
pretty swing.
Yeah, and for me, it's our only Hall of Famer for the entire lineup. I don't want to get ahead of anybody or anything like that, but he's my only Hall of Famer for this entire Kansas City team. Anything else about Brett?
No, he is, still renowned in Kansas City as their all-time best player.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Moose is, again, a great backup choice here.
Yeah.
Mike Moustakas. I don't know why he's playing second base in Cincinnati, but whatever. I think that's
it's a softball team.
I don't know. George Brett, third base. Left field, now this is, I think, we were talking about the Phillies recently, and Phillies and Royals actually have a lot of similarities with their premier player, in my opinion, for the Phillies was Schmidt, and then you have your third baseman here with the Royals. Their outfield also was blessed, just like Philadelphia.
Yes.
So you could use a lot of these players. I don't know if there's a wrong choice in any of these because there's such a great depth. But please let us know in the comments below if we left off your choice. So for left field, I'm going with who I kind of grew up with as sort of Mr. Royal, was Alex Gordon. Alex Gordon is a 7-time Gold Glove winning left fielder. Moved from third to left. So way to make your list, because if you stayed at third, you could never get Brett's numbers. But I think Alex is just a consistent player, loves playing in Kansas City, still is re-signed, will end his career with Kansas City, and I really think he deserves to be on this team.
I had Bo.
I figured you would have Bo.
Yeah. What an incredible athlete. When I used to go to Memorial Stadium, and I think I've told this story before, he at Memorial Stadium had 2 of the most great plays of all time. One was actually climbing a wall and his spikes in the wall at Memorial Stadium, and the other one was a throw from deep left field corner on the fly throughout a guy at the plate.
Yeah. Listen,
unbelievable.
Bo Jackson's a better athlete here between the two. I know that. Alex Gordon just has better numbers. Bo, in his 4 years, I believe, in Kansas City, obviously never got a Gold Glove. Great arm, all that, but Gordon is just knows baseball better than Bo.
Tell that to Bo's face.
I would, if I could meet Bo Jackson. If that's a great trade-off, I would love to do that. I do think he's a better athlete, but Alex Gordon is who I'd play
Big
in
man.
left.
Big man.
So who's your center fielder?
You know what? There was like 4 that I had. I'm going to go with Amos Otis. Again, through the stars of George Brett and everything else, was another all-star and everything else. But I had like 3 others that were just fantastic, but I chose Amos.
Yeah. He would be a backup for me. I know that sounds insulting, but I love Carlos Beltran. I think.
Was he a center fielder or right fielder?
Center fielder.
Okay.
He's a center fielder.
Okay.
So coming up with Kansas City before being very stupidly traded to Houston, he put on shows in the late 90s and early 2000s, and I really wish he stayed with Kansas City longer. I think his best years were with the New York Mets, actually, but I do think he earned center field titles just for his speed, his average, his power.
Yeah.
We look at Willie Wilson for his speed. You look at Otis for everything. You look at Dyson. You look at Kane. You look at Damon. These Royals have been blessed with center fielders. So it's any of those players. If that's your starter, I got no issues.
You're so good at all this stuff, but the
well, we do have a podcast.
That's right. But if you really think about Carlos, he's one of the guys that could be Hall of Fame worthy, but he made boo-boos in the last couple years. But 3-4 years ago, they were saying he had a chance.
Yeah.
The stats.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He was a great player.
Yeah.
As well as all these players we mentioned were.
Yeah.
You said Bo, and then you went Otis. So we got different outfielders. Do we come together on right field? Who do you have for right field?
Here's a throwback.
Go ahead.
Lou Piniella.
All right. Lou was not even on my top 25-man roster, so why does he get the start for you?
He was the star.
Is he a right fielder?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
he was a star when when they had the expansion teams and everything else. Lou was the only one that really stood out during that era. When I did the research for this, Lou, his stats were unbelievable when he was with
Yeah.
Kansas City. Always hit like 320 and real solid right field. Believe it or not, was a good defensive outfielder, and there's a few others, but I had Lou just from the old days to throw that kind of like, expansion team flavor in there, and we've talked to Lou Piniella, so that's what I did.
Danny Tartabull was my choice.
Yeah.
So I don't have a lot of power in this lineup,
Yeah.
and he was a true right fielder. Again, I think you could have. Again, we're very kind of focused on making sure they play the right position here. You could have moved Gordon or Bo Jackson to right field in the situation to get both those players.
Or any of the center fielders.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Move Beltran to right field or something like that.
Yeah, there was a guy named David De Jesus that was a real good
Yeah, he was
right
a Cub
fielder.
too.
Yeah, he was a real good right fielder and very popular in Kansas City. He was in the mix as well.
Jermaine Dye is a great choice too.
Yeah, you're right.
That's something they're blessed with outfielders, but I need power in this lineup, and Tartabull is a person that is responsible for a lot of that power.
Yeah.
So for DH, so who do you use at DH? A lot of options so far.
Hal McRae.
Okay, so Hal McRae is a great choice as well. Could be another left field option as well.
Yeah. But I think he spent more time DH than he did in the outfield because they were blessed with so many great outfielders.
Yeah.
But he had great numbers when he was with Kansas City and made that lineup really powerful when, George Brett was there and all that stuff. I think he was DH, batted cleanup or fifth and really had great stats. So he made a name for himself as a DH.
Yeah, I was between Hal and Mike Sweeney. So I gave it to Mike Sweeney just because he, in my mind, would be that backup to Eric Hosmer. So switch those guys around. If that makes any sense. Give one a day off. One can DH, one can play. Mike Sweeney's numbers were also very consistent and great as well.
We had different opinions on Kansas City.
We've had a lot of different opinions. Agreed on the Hall of Famer and first the
infield. Basically.
The infield. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of neat.
Sound off so far. Let's see if we can come to an agreement again in the bullpen and in pitching. So who's taking the mound for you?
Zack Greinke.
We're not agreeing.
Okay. There's a lot of great pitchers, by the way.
I know. Two stand out.
I had three.
Greinke's one of them.
I had three that were just, A, B, and C.
How many times did Greinke win? This is my microphone. How many times did Greinke win the Cy Young for the Royals?
0.
That is correct. Do you know who won twice?
Saberhagen.
That is correct.
Look what I have. Right?
I know. I have Saberhagen too.
Yeah. I was going back and forth, but he had amazing stats.
I know.
And, Brett was during the golden years and everything else, and he was, the star. And there's a guy named David Cohn.
Yeah, Yankee too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all three of those, I had them all three. But if I had to choose, top of my head, I'd call it Greinke just because he was very strong with Kansas City. And athletically, they say he's the best athletic pitcher in the major leagues right now.
I like Zack Greinke. I think he's fantastic. I got to give the ball to the Cy Young. I mean, that just makes sense to me. He has a better ERA, and I know you're going to say that under Greinke, the Royals didn't have the greatest offense. And so,
correct.
But yeah. Anyways, Bret Saberhagen is my choice. Who is the setup? Who's your closer?
I'm going...
Because it's another 50-50 shot.
Going Tom Gordon, setup. Joaquin Soria, closer.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? I've changed that. Dan Quisenberry. I'm sorry.
All right.
I read the wrong thing. Tom Gordon, setup. Quisenberry, closer.
We've never disagreed. If you watch all of our podcasts, it's like 80% similar.
Yeah.
This is 20% similar.
Yeah.
So Tom Gordon definitely was a reliever for the Royals. He started a lot too. Really earned his stripes, I guess, and coming out in the ninth for Boston. But okay, so Tom Gordon. I'm with Wade Davis for my closer. Or sorry, not my closer. My setup man.
Right.
Quisenberry is my closer as well. Just incredible numbers that Dan had, by the way, when he was a closer for the Royals.
Another submarine guy.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Greg Holland was also in there, too. I kind of was debating between Holland and Davis. But when he was a Royal and they switched him from starter to a closer, that's what happened in Kansas City. Wade Davis had 2 years with an ERA at 1 or under.
Yeah.
So I love you, Holland, but
that's where he made a
Davis.
name for himself in Kansas City.
Yeah, that's where he earned all those big contracts just for being a closer and a reliever.
Yeah. Now then they overpaid for him.
Okay,
and there's another reliever named Jeff Montgomery.
Yeah, and he's actually the Royals save leader. So Joaquin Soria, though, is a great choice. I just wouldn't have picked him over these guys.
Yeah, but I mean, you're talking 5 great relievers right there.
Yeah. It's 50 years of history, a lot of options, and a lot of debates. We've come very... Who would win in this team so far? Like that's really interesting. So,
But if you think about the last
Sally
couple,
Perez.
if you think about the last, couple teams we've done, we've had two submariners as great closers, but there's not a whole lot of submarine pitchers anymore.
Yeah, it's a lost art.
Yeah. So I mean, Quisenberry really, when he threw, he threw from like the mound, and his
I feel like
knee
it's like
used to touch the dirt.
Yeah.
So he was that good, and he was very popular in Kansas City. So yeah, I agree. And Wade Davis was fantastic, but again, Tom Gordon I think really did well for a number of years with Kansas City. That's how he got his name.
Well, sound off. Who
Yeah.
chose better? Saberhagen, Davis, Quisenberry. You went with Greinke, Gordon,
Quisenberry.
Okay.
Yes.
Let us know.
Yeah.
So let's see if we can agree. So I think there's kind of two options for manager because obviously there's been 2 World Series. Who's your pick for manager?
Dick Howser.
I have Dick as well.
Yeah. He was, I think, one of the best managers during his era.
Yeah.
Well respected within the major leagues and everything else, and players really liked playing for him. And I think when George Brett went through the Hall of Fame, really had great things to say about him.
Mm-hmm. He also has a better winning percentage than Ned Yost. Ned Yost has another World Series ring for the Royals, obviously the second one, but has a losing winning percentage. He doesn't have winning percentage. And then we turn to logos. So
You're not going to tell your Lou Piniella story?
What? It's not. No, I feel like we covered it in another podcast. Actually, we met Lou Piniella.
Aw. Talk about Ken Griffey Jr. by the way.
Who is not a Kansas City Royal. So
Yes.
I'm trying to stay on point in this podcast. So we end with talking about our favorite logo in team history. I will say that you just keep doing the same versions, just kind of in a different way. Like, oh, do we make it bigger now? What color crown do we want? Etc. Etc. Dad, what's your pick?
I'll go 2002 KC Royals.
Yes, I also agree with this one just because I feel like the KCR in the early days were a little repetitive. I do like the more golden crown than the tan crown that's kind of going on today. I like the top golden ones. I don't know. Maybe you'll get it right in new revisions, but
I'm thinking that's gold for the Royals.
I know. I'm saying this is the gold. I think this is gold, and this is like a bronze tan.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
Sound off in the comments. Whatever. If you made it this far, we love you. Please subscribe.
Yes.
Like.
Yes.
We'll give you a follow back on anything you need us on social media.
That's right.
Let us know. This was a very vastly different podcast in terms of not agreeing on things. So we'll post in the post description below if our full lineups in case just debate. Let us know who picked the better all-time Kansas City Royals team. No, by far. Sally Perez is catcher. I don't remember his guy. Johnny guy? Whoever his
John
name.
Wathan.
Whatever. My outfield's better too. It's 2-time Cy Young versus Greinke. Debate with us. We're going to keep talking. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.